started! Are you ready? Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, everyone. I want to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to whoever is watching. Welcome to Jade Life After Jada's live stream, and we are back. The ladies with me, and we will be answering the questions from the previous live streams that we had. And if anybody wants to join us, we'll be posting a link down in the comment section. And come join us if you have any more questions to ask and interact with us. So let's bring in the ladies. Hi, Sherry.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello.
Michelle. There's
Hi,
Kerry.
everyone.
Hi, Kerry.
Hi.
Kate. Hi, Kate.
I like
I'm
how we're all
back.
like, woohoo.
You're back, Kate.
Oh, I was dancing to that opening music. It was
I know,
brilliant
it's very
tonight.
exciting, isn't it?
Me too. I was doing that move.
I was picking my nose.
To the rhythm, I hope.
I told you, Michelle, it's the countdown.
Yeah. Nice to have you all again. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Very good.
Really
Busy.
well. We have apologies from Naomi tonight, who can't make it, and who would have loved to have been with us, but she's on shift at the little shop of waffles in Manly, making amazing waffles. If you ever
Okay,
have
be
a
right
chance
back.
to get out there,
Yeah.
it's worth a trip. It's worth a trip.
It is.
They're so good.
Especially the caramel one.
Oh, yum.
Hashtag
Yeah.
ad. Hashtag sponsored.
You'll thank us later.
Oh well, she's not here to waffle on tonight.
Oh, but
Boom, tish.
Michelle's our comedian instead of Naomi tonight.
Oh no, the pressure.
So she's with us. Spirit. Anyway. So we're going to be answering questions from the past live stream. And also, we're going to be answering live questions from our viewers. Whoever wants to join us is free to join us. So just check the link that will be posted on the comment section. Everyone who wants to join us, come join us. So are you ready, ladies?
oh
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's a question that, yeah, like this one. Are you saying that the GB have an old-fashioned view?
Is that a
Is
I
that
mean,
question
either-
or
are
a
we?
statement?
Is that it?
Yeah, are you saying?
Do they want that shorter?
I think the question is, the answer is obvious.
Yeah, they're clearly stuck in the 1950s at least.
Well, it's run by a bunch of men from the 1900s, isn't it? So
Yeah.
get a few, sexy young guys in there, things might change.
Yeah.
Yeah, stuck
I'll go
somewhere
to
there.
Bethel.
But they won't be interested in us, Emma.
No,
Oh,
they
not
won't
Emma.
be.
Okay.
That's
Sorry.
a relief.
Just their pillows.
Yeah, I reckon
Yeah.
they definitely have an old-fashioned view.
Yes.
Most definitely. And in many ways. Like you think about
Yeah.
it from, oh goodness, all of the rules they have about dress and grooming, for example, that is extremely 1950s. Their view of women is ditto, extremely 1950s. The whole idea of headship, although you could say that's not just limited to the 20th century, but it's part of a book that was claims to be written 2,000 years ago. So as soon as you have people that adhere to that, then yeah, I'd say that's old-fashioned.
Yeah.
I mean, didn't
Very
one
much.
of them famously say that we all have smaller brains and then incapable of really understanding anything? So I don't even think they have old-fashioned views. They just have very strange views, and
Yeah.
I think they make them up as they go along to suit their narrative.
And
I
clearly
had
we
not
all
real-
want to be brothers after that.
Right.
Yeah,
If not
clearly.
only are our brains smaller, if we try and do anything else, we're trying to be a brother.
Yeah,
That's right. That's
Get back in
right.
your box, sister.
Yeah, so I think their narrative is not even worth listening to
No,
when it comes to women.
Exactly.
Mm.
I hadn't realised a few things about the religion until leaving. Like that it was a millennialist religion, meaning that it was doomsday and believed in the end of the world, but that it is also let me see if I can get this word right, a complementarianism religion.
Oh,
Right?
first time I heard.
Complementarianism. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but as soon as I explain it, you'll get it. And if the whole basis of complementarianism is that Eve was created to be a complement to Adam, right? Which means that a
Oh,
woman is never a independent individual. She's there to complement the male.
We're an
And-
accessory.
Yeah, really. And so when you analyze the propaganda that comes out of Watchtower, you really see that complementarianism coming through. You see it in the married woman that is fussing around in the kitchen to prepare dinner while the husband's in the lounge room preparing his talk for the meeting. Right? She's there just to serve him so that he can be the spiritual head. And if the woman is not married, then she's pitiable because she has no one to compliment.
oh.
All these compliments, no one to give them to.
Yeah.
I know it's a different one though, but
And
Yeah,
there's no
Yeah.
recognition of the pressure that is put on a woman, say that is an elder's wife, to have everything ready to allow her husband to, prepare all these talks, to go on shepherding visits, spend all this time with other people meddling in their business while their family is actually being kept together by the wife. And I think that not enough kudos goes to those wives. They have a very stressful life, and then their husbands are out going to judicial committees, hearing about the sexual lives of other people. And I think the stress all around, because of just the structure of the organisation, the role that the woman has to play, there's just not any recognition to the impact that has on the family.
even the title
sorry.
being elder's wife, like she's not a person herself, she is elder's wife.
Yeah, and I can totally relate, because my dad was an elder, so my mum was pretty much like the sole caregiver of me and my brother. Like, she did all the cooking, the cleaning. She made sure us children were quiet all the time, because if he wasn't sleeping, he was in his study prepping for the meeting, a public talk, an elders meeting that was scheduled that night. And then at night time, she was putting us to bed because he was out doing shepherding calls or elders. So we actually hardly ever saw him. And when we did, he was so highly strung that you didn't even want to be around him, because he was so detached almost from me and my brother and my mum. Completely different, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a side question from Sasha.
Don't worry, I did know the difference between the words.
Yes, I think we've got that one.
Okay.
Is he mansplaining?
Thank you, my compliment.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I have to agree with what Sherry was saying. Like, they were saying that women are made for men, so
Yeah,
planted to our head.
yeah.
We
And
are
that's
useless without men.
extremely-
It's
Yeah,
Well, I mean,
throughout the literature, throughout it all.
yeah, it is. But it's so problematic, because it then becomes, it lays the groundwork or the foundation for which abuse is possible.
Yeah.
And that's where it's just so problematic to have these views, that if you dehumanize the woman by saying that she has no right or no role outside of the scope of being a wife, That's dehumanizing. And as soon as you do that, you make abuse possible.
Yeah.
And it's just so very, very problematic, this teaching that Watchtower clings to.
And young women will just think that that's normal. So when they get into a marriage and they maybe go to an older sister for advice, because they've gone through it, it's the normal. So then that poor young sister who's not used to anything else thinks, okay, well, it doesn't feel right, but obviously it's, it's the thing, and I've just got to keep obeying my husband. And it's just a horrible cycle that just keeps going.
Yeah, and they normalise the dysfunction by that sort of praise that they give to women of, we need to understand that, elders' wives put aside the time that they should have with their husbands and their needs for the congregation, and they make that out to actually be a positive when in fact it's a negative. And it impacts marriages, it impacts fathers' relationships with children, mothers with their children having too much on their plate, but they do that sort of backward praising sort of of saying, well, that's great that you will put your needs on the back burner, when really what they're saying is put your needs on the back burner.
Exactly.
So your husband can start climbing the rungs up the ladder of the, JW hierarchy.
It's very much women are not allowed to complain.
No,
they're not allowed to complain.
No, because then it would be murmuring, wouldn't it? And then the poor sister gets into trouble for that, and all she wants to do is have a real conversation with her husband and shake her and be like, I'm here too.
And it's painted as selfish. Yeah.
That's a good question there as well. Were they proud? Were the JW women proud of their husbands' positions? And was it competition?
Absolutely.
Yes.
There was a rank. There is a rank, because my husband was in the army, and all the army wives, they used to wear, their husband's rank, and it used to remind me of, when I was in the congregations, and I'd be like, oh my goodness, the sisters, they would only be with elders' wives would only be with elders' wives, or pioneers with only other pioneers, and if you weren't married to an elder or even an MS, it's whoo, you're not going to their potluck dinner.
No. And there's always that chief elderette.
The elderette, that's it.
The queen of the congregation.
In the congregation.
Yes. And they have absolute social power in the congregation.
They so do.
Absolute social power. So you know if you're in the inner or the outer. You're either invited to the functions and the events that the elderettes arrange, or you're not.
Yeah.
And the rest, but the rest of the congregation follows that. It's this unspoken thing. And so then if you're not invited to the elderettes events, then the rest of the congregation is non-verbally communicated with that you are not a good associate. And you're automatically then on the outer. And the only way you can get yourself into that inner circle is by pioneering or having your husband progress and reach out.
Oh, yeah. I always say to my partner now, because obviously he's met my parents a few times, and my mum is quite a, anyway, I liken her to Mrs. Bouquet of, what is it? Hyacinth Bouquet. When she's not really that great, but she likes to come across that she's got everything. And my mum being there, I was like, she is like that. And her friends, her friends are changing all the time. I don't think she's ever had one solid friend. Actually, no, she has. It was a worldly person when she was a teenager. But in the organisation, she's never had a solid friend because there's been all this bitchiness, catting, and then all the elder husbands come together and they have this sort of conversation, and then the wives have to come together and take their apology because they get told that you got to leave your offering at the altar, go and make peace with your brother. So mum would go and do that, and then, the next meeting, both sisters are crazy. But yeah, my mum's like that. It's real funny because they're older, and there are a lot of younger elders coming up the rank now. A lot of their friends are half their age. And so that plays on her even more that, I'm in with all the young ones. I'm like, no, Mum, you're not. It's so sad.
Do you also guys ever notice that those wives, elders' wives, are competing with each other? We have something like that in my old congregation. They want to be the best.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a
Competing
good
with each
question
other.
down there.
That's a very true question.
Because for me, it would freak me out if someone was super high up in the ranks. I'd be like, oh no, not for me. Sorry.
I would
that means more pressure.
I need someone like in the middle.
We had a group of when I was like 18, between I guess 15 and 20, mid-20s, we had a group of brothers from Bethel, single brothers from Bethel in our congregation. And they were just treated like they were kings. It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
For me, rank never mattered. Like,
Same.
I don't know why it just didn't. And I don't
you
know,
were
for
awake
me,
to it early on, though, Kathy. I reckon it never sat well with you, did it? The whole
no.
So I think you were sort of onto the machinations and the society.
I don't think so.
side
I
of
think
things.
I'm just quite a stubborn person, and I did stay in the rules, but right on the edge of them. And I don't know. I just hate hypocrisy, and I think like I saw these young elders, and they were just Bethel boys, just doing horrendous things and getting away with it. And then my sister married a man from Bethel, and I mean I can't publicly say what he did before he even came to Bethel, and then hid it while he was in Bethel, then went out with my sister, married her, and told her just before the wedding what he'd done. It was absolutely disgusting. And yet, they, he got a slap on the hand, basically, and because he got a slap on the hand, people thought they'd done something before they got married. I don't know, it never attracted me, any of that. It was more about what people's hearts were like.
Yeah, I was very similar. And like, people would be like, oh, such and such is a elder, or who's your presiding overseer? And I'm like, I don't know. And they'd be like, oh, you're not a very good Jehovah's Witness, are you? And I'm like,
And people now, when I see them and they say, oh, how's your sister? I'm like, oh, they're not together anymore. And immediate reaction from JWs is, he was a Bethel boy. And I just now, I tear them to pieces. I'm like, and what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What is it?
Yeah, I tried to look at, I tried to go, like, step up the ladder, like, probably just before I ended up leaving the religion for good. Because I was like, well, my dad always said to me, I'll never make a good submissive wife, because I was very independent and stubborn. But then after my marriage breakdown with a worldly guy, I thought, okay, I'm going to prove it to my parents that I can catch me a good boy. So I did. I went for an MS, and he was nothing. I mean, if I walked down the street, I would not have looked twice at him ever. But I was like, oh, well, he's MS. He's probably going to be an elder soon. I'll give it a go. It only lasted a couple of weeks because I found out that he was addicted to pornography.
Yeah. Aren't they all?
And he wanted one of my photos of when I was then married and pregnant with my first child to help him combat the pornography addiction.
What?
When I told
I'm gonna go
when I told the elders about this, and when I ended up going to a judicial anyway for something else, I sort of just opened up to them and said, look, this is why I'm so fed up with everything and I want to leave. So I told them that, and they told me that was a very serious accusation. I got disfellowshipped on the spot, and that brother is still serving in one of the local congregations.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, where is he now? DM me, I'll find him.
It's funny. Yeah. So that's just like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, okay, you know what? I am so done if that's the way it goes, and you're just going to protect those that are in your circle. Because he was close to the brothers that were in my judicial. I was just like, no, not going to do that. So if there's anybody watching this and they're still in it, go for a naughty boy or one of the quiet ones.
I would agree with you, Kate.
Quiet ones. No.
Yeah, definitely.
I went for that.
I
had a very big.
Sorry, go on, Stella.
I said I had a very bad experience. I married an ex-elder and an ex-Bethelite. Well, he was in Bethel.
at the same time.
Yeah, that is so, because my friends in the congregation at that time, they were getting married with and getting this fellowship. I said I don't want to end up like them, so I'm aiming for somebody who is an elder or is in Bethel. So yeah, I got married to an elder and a Bethelite, and then less than a year, I regret. Yeah, that's it. So it's not. Yeah.
I started dating an elder son, but I knew him for like 2 years before that, but didn't know his dad was an elder. Like, it was just, we were friends, and then we started dating, and then so firsthand saw the whole elder and elder's wife dynamic. But yeah, I mean, they were lovely. Like, I'm not going to say anything bad there, but it's definitely J-dub culture. Yeah.
I'm ashamed to say that was important to me, that I was not going to consider someone who was not in some kind of position. There's a whole other world to the dating scene amongst those that are pioneers and Bethelites. It's just a whole other thing. I can remember vividly visiting Sydney Bethel and being asked by a few of the single brothers how long I'd been pioneering. And at the time I was with a circuit overseer's wife, and she said to me, you know what they're asking you when they ask how many years you've been a pioneer? And I'd been, I think, 8 years by that point. And she said, they're actually asking your dowry, because yes, because if you have a certain amount of years of service and you marry a Bethelite and you go into Bethel, on the back of your cumulative years of service, there's a ranking system within Bethel, right?
Yeah.
You can get a better room, you can get a better car parking spot, you can get all of this stuff because you have so many years in full-time service. And this CEO's wife knew it. And so she warned me and said, when they're asking how long, it's because they're asking for your dowry.
Do you get the same amount of everlasting life?
Like, what was that, Michelle?
Like, do you get the same amount of everlasting life? Like, do you get more when you go to Bethel?
Yes, but you know, if you get a corner room in one of the residences, and that means that you actually have a separate lounge room and a bedroom separate, like it's not just one living area, that's a huge deal in Bethel. It's just amazing.
Yeah, but I agree to that. That's why I was asked to work where the greed is neither. The need is greater.
No, I think you said it right the first time.
The greed, yeah.
Yeah.
But Sherry, you were doing the right thing. Like, even though I was not interested in Bethel guys, I don't know, just seeing too much crap, you were doing the right thing according to the religion. I mean, you see the governing body get up there and they don't talk about love. They don't talk about compatibility. They're like, are you dating a man that's not an MS? Then you should really consider what you're doing. So what you did was the right thing. Like, it's
like, does he encourage you to read the Bible?
Yeah, you might feel a degree of shame or something now, but like, you weren't doing anything wrong in the context of the culture you were in.
No,
but even at that time, the atmosphere is, the pressure is just enormous because everyone is watching you. Everyone is watching, and they're all jumping to conclusions. They're all talking amongst themselves. Once Sasha and I actually did start courting,
yeah, I hate that word.
The presiding overseer in my congregation, like, without any consultation with me, without any discussion at all, he presumed to call up and find out what congregation Sasha was in, and then called the elders in that congregation to have a chat with them to see if he was suitable for me.
Ooh.
Which, you know, I mean, that's all very... Okay.
That was common.
He's
that was
looking
common.
out for me, but how dare you get involved in my life?
Actually, just totally unlocked a memory of when I started dating my ex and my workmate. I worked with witnesses. She was like, "So have you spoken to his elders, and have you talked to your elders? Have they spoken?" And I was like, "What for? Are they going to be dating?"
Like, they could be chaperones.
Imagine the dates for that. But yeah, that's just pulled up that memory. I just remember being like, why would I talk to the elders? Like, his parents know.
Yes, they've got to be involved in everything.
But in
and then I started going back to a Spanish congregation instead of staying in his congregation, and they were all like, "What are you doing?" And like, "How could you? Is he going to join Spanish? Do you guys do family worship together? Like, what's going on?" And like, we were pretty chill. Like, we weren't ultra. Like, I was the more, because I felt the pressure more to do all of the field service and all of that. So I was the one that was going, "Let's go do this. Let's go do this." And he was just like, "Let's just sit at home and watch movies." So I was like, I don't know. Like, I want to go to Spanish because I like it. Like, why does he have to come? Like, if we get married, like, at least I've done all the Spanish that I wanted to do. Like, so I was a bit, never did things the right way anyway, but I felt the pressure too.
Yes.
So
the pressure's enormous.
Yeah.
I mean, I married an eldest son, so I guess to a degree, maybe that was okay because of his rank by default of his father. And his father was a very well-known elder, lovely man that a lot of people like. So I guess maybe most people thought I was lucky and, you know, I don't know, punching above my weight or something. I don't know.
Oh,
who knows? Yeah.
Just
we'd grown up together. We'd been friends since we were 10 years old.
Aww.
I know, it's so cute.
It's so cute.
No, he was a good one. He never became an MS, even when he got offered it. He said no, and that was a lot of that was to do with the impact on his relationship with his father and never having him around. And he said he'd never do that to our kids.
Yeah, man, I respect that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Mm.
We've got
so that was about the governing body, and are they old-fashioned?
Yes.
We went on quite the ride there, didn't we, from that one
We
question?
did.
This is a good question. The next one.
Too. So, having come out of the JW mindset and culture, what challenges have you all faced in adjusting to real life? Real life. I mean, that's even a trigger. There, isn't it? What is the real life?
I think my biggest challenge would be, like, even though it's, I fully don't believe in Jehovah's Witnesses and what they believe anymore. For some odd reason in the back of my head, it's taken a long time to come to terms with that. Even though there's all this crap happening in the world, it doesn't mean that Armageddon's coming tomorrow. Like, I remember a few times where something would happen and I would end up texting my mum, just being like, "Do you think this is?" And of course she's all like, "Oh yes, you better come back, blah blah blah." And then, I'd go off and be like, "Oh, no, that didn't happen." But it takes a bit to sort of just get over that trigger of thinking, well, what if they are right? What if I just happened to be born into that religion because it is the truth, and I am supposed to live in paradise with God and Jesus and Noah. So I think that's been my biggest
challenge.
Just those three. I might marry one of Noah's sons,
I kind of felt
the
that
antidote for that is research. Like, because I think because I did a lot of research, you can just see where the religion came out, like what it came from. And for me, I suppose I haven't been out very long, so maybe get back to me in a couple of years. But
you haven't even done a year yet.
I know. Actually, it's been a year since I first woke up, since I stumbled on it. So that's like almost a year.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks. But I think because of all the research that I did do, and it basically to me is just an American corporation framed as a religion. which is now it used to be a publishing company, and now it's like a broadcasting studio run by 8 men. I'm just like, okay, there's now.
Oh, and they produce movies
coming.
now too.
Yeah,
really good actors and actresses.
Hey, I auditioned somewhere in Sydney is my audition tape.
You auditioned?
I hope they don't call me. I hope they know.
No, please accept it. It would be brilliant.
That would be
like, hey.
Yeah, with your red hair. Oh, pink hair.
With her pink hair.
Yes, it's natural.
Could you imagine? Do you remember the Wife of Lot drama?
Oh my gosh.
Movie, and where one of the daughters was, she was getting a bit too involved. She was getting a bit too involved at work, and her hair apparently was an outrageous color. I couldn't even tell that she had changed her hair color.
No.
But apparently it was a problem. Bizarre.
That was
I guess circling back to the Armageddon fear, it's not there for me because I'm just like I don't think so.
I'm the same.
It's more the other things.
Yeah. I'm the same. I've done my research for a long time. I mean, I've always known once I left, I'd made my decision. I knew it was right. The collateral damage is horrendous. And I think for the first year, I can probably honestly say I probably cried every day. And it wasn't because I thought I had to go back. It was just that I felt I knew what I was in for, but it was horrendous, like the shunning and how quickly my parents particularly were to shun me before I'd even disassociated. But once I'd done the research, like for me, and particularly their own literature is their own indictment.
Yeah.
Because you see how many times they're a very reactive religion. They react to world events and then fit them into their narrative. And when it doesn't happen, then they write a new narrative. And when you're in it and you're on the treadmill, you don't realise it's happening. Yeah. And so I think for me, just looking back historically, the very reason my parents came into the religion was 1975. That came and went, 2000 came and went. Then we had to do the whole generations teaching. I mean, that generations teaching, if anybody sees any logic in that, I mean, seriously, just because you've got a pointer doesn't mean it makes sense in a chart.
Just because you've got a penis.
Yeah. Penis
I don't even know what's pointing with it.
I mean, all jokes aside, I mean, that teaching is absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, it is. Completely.
It's just ridiculous.
It's so bizarre.
I just lost it.
So instead of them saying, I think that we're wrong and we need to rethink this, they just came up with a absolutely ridiculous teaching. And so many people didn't want to swallow that, but you have to.
Michelle and Kate have just lost the plot here, Kathy. Just totally.
Was it pointer or penis?
No, I think it was all of the afterwards.
I'm actually crying.
It's hard. It's hard to adjust to life. I think it's hard to adjust to making your own decisions and not running it by anyone. And one of the worst things was knowing what to do on a weekend without feeling bad.
Letting go of guilt.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Stella? What challenge for you? What challenge did you face?
I think the grieving process for me, like with what Kate was saying earlier, I will not have that paradise. I was aiming for that, and then finding out that I will not have that, it will not happen. So I really took it so emotionally. So and also one of my struggles is, what am I gonna do with so much time in my hand? So that's when I started going to the library to fix that. So instead of going to the Kingdom Hall, I started going to the library and spent most of my time there researching, especially on science books. So after I ditched the two-witness rule, I went straight to science and just get rid of all of those indoctrination in my head. And also one struggle is I was so dependent with the witnesses, with my friends in the congregation, in how to get around Macau. I don't know. I'm bad at direction. I'm bad at remembering landmarks. I always get lost. That's one of my struggles. So I was really worried because they were shunning me, and how will I get around here? How am I gonna be able to live on my own? That's all of my struggles at that time. And I'm still struggling with keeping friends. I don't have problem talking to people here, meeting new people, but keeping up with them and maintaining the friendship, I still struggle with that. But online, I don't have problem. But with physical friends here, yeah, I
think the
on
majority of my friends are all online.
Yeah.
I think that's my greatest struggle as well, is how do you make friends now? And it's more the mental side of things. Like, I am good enough. I can do things. So just having confidence in myself.
Yeah.
So
Well, for me, I'm just taking my time.
With the friendship thing, I think that for me, it was deconstructing and realizing what my friends were in the religion. So really, we had the same beliefs. We just used to hang out at every meeting. I used to, you know, after I'd spent time with friends, I used to think, oh, you know, I really just can't even say what I'm thinking. So while you might have 100 friends when you're in the religion, and you get to go out, you get to socialize, and that's the cruelty of shunning, is because humans need friendship. They need to interact with other humans, and that's why it's the best weapon ever for those 8 hateful men to inflict on people, and that is to take your family, your structures, everything away from you. And when you've been in that sort of nonsensical, I've got 100 friends, I've got 150 friends, I've got worldwide friends, like it's actually not real. And I think most people, even out in the world, struggle with friendship. It's not easy, and it takes effort, whereas in the JW religion, it was effortless. You could go to any congregation and people just walk up to you, come over for lunch, all that. It's not real.
Yes, it's never actually a real friendship.
Yeah. So it's sort of realizing that what you were in was a bubble, and it would burst at any moment if you just walked outside of the perimeter. So life is hard, and making friends is hard, and I think not being hard on yourself about that it is a struggle, but I don't want that sort of fake world
superficiality.
Quality over quantity.
And that's what I said to an elder a while ago. He met up for coffee with me just to see how I was doing, which was kind of cool. And I just said to him, what's really nice is not to have to fake being somebody anymore. I said I would walk into Kingdom Halls and I'd be either crying or upset before walking into the meeting, but I could put on this great smile and how are you and all that sort of stuff. And then as soon as I left, just be like, I could feel myself almost taking off the mask and then just going, oh, you know, that's done for a week. And it's so nice now just to be myself and not fake anything. And I had some really nice people in my congregation. I had a girlfriend that was really lovely, but when I look back on it, it's like really we had nothing else in common except for Jehovah's Witness, like going to meetings or witnessing. We had nothing else in common, so I could see that we actually weren't friends. We were just 2 young sisters. There were no other young sisters, so we hung out.
I think that there was like a couple of I had a couple of really good, I would consider them true friends that are just unfortunately brainwashed, and hopefully you know at some point they come out of the cult and we can resume our friendship. But literally like 2 out of 150 plus that were actual friends.
And
but
Sherry,
even that.
Sherry, you and I have got a mutual friend, and since leaving, like what happened to her, I had no idea that was going on. And I think back, and I thought we were really good friends, and yet we were both struggling enormously, and neither of us articulated that to each other. And I think back now, and I think she was considered one of my best friends, and yet I didn't know what was going on in her life, which was absolutely terrible. And she didn't know anything about my life. So what kind of friendship was that?
Yeah. And that's so tragic, though. It's so tragic because you can't there's a certain level, there's a certain threshold of what you can open up about.
Yeah.
And then there's stuff you can't open up about. You just you can't talk to anyone else about. And that burden,
That's true.
it's just that prevents any real friendships, really, because it's not safe for you to share what you really think, because it comes with so much judgment and so many strings from the other person. They're not genuine friendships, sadly. And like you, Kathy, I feel for those people that we've left behind, because I know that they're lovely people. Like who you were speaking, I loved spending time with her. I felt that she was a really genuine and sincere person. But I think of how much she has gone through, and I wish in a way that I could be there to support her. And I know that you and I would give her such a genuine, sincere, no judgment, just real friendship. But she denies that because we've left.
Yeah.
Sad.
And that was because I spoke my truth to her.
Yeah.
And like after that, I was shunned, and I don't blame her for that. Look, it is what it is. But why is that something that, you do lose all your friends and that, but when you start deconstructing those friendships, like I think about that particular friendship, which I thought was a very important one to me, and I knew nothing about her and she knew nothing about me, and we really
came to it.
Needed help. So what have I left behind? A fake friendship, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's true.
Also, it's so hard to say anything to your friends, any confidential thing, because they will snitch on you. They will be the first one to run to the elders.
Yeah. And even if they don't snitch, there's just there's judgment, right? There's this lack of that there's things that you just can't discuss. I think of the last conversation I had with a friend that I had been very close with, and I hadn't called her because I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. Right? It's just so fraught. It's a minefield to walk through. What do you say? How are you? Oh, well, I've just found out the religion I've been raised in was all a pack of lies, and it's been completely destabilizing. And that's how I've been. How's it? You can't say anything like that, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't call her and didn't talk to her, and then she found out through the grapevine, because she's still in Perth. She found out that Sasha and I weren't doing so well spiritually. And so this warranted a phone call from her. And I was so hesitant about really talking to her, but she did say to me, because I asked her, I said, how safe is this conversation? And she said, I'm not going to talk to anybody else about it. And I said, if you're not, then I'll be really honest with you. And I was. She at least gave me, for an hour and a half, a safe place where I could tell her exactly what I thought. And I discussed with her all of my concerns over the Australian Royal Commission, and she had similar concerns because she knew one of the cases, just as I did, one of those cases that was in the findings report, we both knew the individuals involved. And it really rocked me, obviously. Rocked her too, but she'd somehow managed to do the math in her head or square the circle somehow, and I just couldn't. But we at least had this hour and a half brutal conversation, and even to the point of her asking if don't give up on Jehovah, and I was able to say to her, I have no reason to believe that he exists, which would have been massive for her to hear, I have no doubt. But at the end of the conversation, this is a few years back now, over 4 years ago now, at the end of the conversation, we ended it very nicely, and we told each other that we loved each other. And that's the last time I spoke to her. And a few minutes after the phone call ended, she sent me some photographs of her at my wedding, because she was my bridesmaid, and me at her wedding, and a few pioneer witnessing photos. And I knew the moment I got those photos, I would never hear from her again. That was her saying goodbye.
Goodbye.
This is it.
Yeah.
So
I've just
sad.
seen a question. I've just seen a question in the chat about behaviours of family who shun you, and did it affect your self-esteem and self-worth? And I think that's a topic worth sort of
pop
chatting
that question
about, and
up.
how it's and how that has affected everybody. Because for me, in the first year, definitely that killed my self-esteem, because the shunning is so brutal and instantaneous, and it's very hard to reconcile it. But again, for me, it was research, and it was understanding why they're doing that, and that, you know, people are entitled to make different decisions and move on with their life. But it is very hard to cope with, absolutely.
I think there's another aspect to it, that it's the reason why they're shunning you that affects your self-esteem and your self-worth, because all of a sudden you are painted out to be the worst individual ever. How dare you leave this organization? How dare you? How can you possibly do that? And so you are painted, how could you leave Jehovah? How could you leave this organization? You're painted into this evil person who has let Satan take over their lives. And that's the part, I think, that gets your self-esteem and your self-worth, because you know what stories they're telling about you, what lies they're saying about you, in order for them to justify why they shun. That's the part
is
I
taken
think.
off you.
And you've got no recourse. You can't say a thing.
So when I disassociated, like, I told the elders I was disassociating because of the sexual abuse, things like that, and I said to them, when you make that announcement, like, you're spreading like a lie about me, that I don't want anything to do with my family, my friends, and things like that. So I made that very clear to the elders. And when I wrote to everyone in my family that I was leaving, I said to them that I can't control the narrative that's been written about me. And that's the thing. That's why it's so cruel. They don't allow you to even explain to people.
No, they take it away from you completely.
That's exactly why I mean, I must have mentioned it before, but that's exactly why I left how I left, and posted on my Instagram, my WhatsApp status, my Facebook. I had a little paragraph saying why I was choosing to leave. And that was it. Like, it wasn't them. They weren't kicking me out. I was leaving, and this is why.
Good on you.
That's the really difficult part in this. And I suppose that's why I'm grateful to my friend, because she at least allowed me an opportunity to discuss what my deep concerns were. Nobody else was allowing me that opportunity at all. I found it absolutely infuriating that as soon as Sasha had been discovered as a non-believer and apostate, that nobody bothered to check in on me at all. I was just collateral damage, and nobody asked me a question at all. Which, you know, they just sort of put me into the same bucket, and the shunning started for me at the same time as it did for Sasha, while I was still trying to work everything out. And it took me quite a while to do that. But not being able to, like, having that narrative taken away from you, not having the opportunity to explain how you feel, this again is another dehumanizing behavior of the organization.
Yeah, and like when I first got disfellowshipped, I was 20, but quite immature, and I lost my parents. I was a disgrace to them. My dad lost his eldership for a period of time. So I felt really low about myself. I felt like I had failed my parents, and it ended up in the first couple of years of my first disfellowshipping, I was in a really bad place and spiraling out of control. So I went through the whole, like, typical drinking, drugs, you know, loose conduct. But it's because you have no self-esteem and no self-respect anymore, because then you're so lost. You don't know who you are anymore. You know you don't want that life, but you're also not prepared for the new life. So it takes a real hammering to yourself mentally and emotionally. So the second time around, I went straight into, like, just being on my own and self-healing, and really just getting myself back to where I wanted to be and realizing that who I am is okay, my beliefs are okay, and I'm doing things for myself and to make myself happy. I don't need the approval of other people or my parents or anyone else like that. But for a lot of people, it takes time to come to that conclusion because it's so natural to want to please your parents or other people. You don't want to be seen as a failure or a letdown.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's not the ones who shunned me that really affected me, but the ones who were close, still are close to me, my family, my relatives, telling me that I caused pain, especially to my parents because I left the religion. But I came to realize that what about my own happiness? This is the first time that I'm taking charge of my life and I'm being make feel bad about it, choosing what I want to do in my life for the very first time in my life. So yeah, they're making me feel bad. That's what got into me, making me feel so low about myself, my decision to leaving. But not the ones who were shunning me. They don't affect me at all. But the ones who were telling me that you've caused pain to your parents, especially to my dad, who is a very nice guy, an
That's the
elder.
narrative, though. Watch how it does that very craftily. Like you think of all of the videos on when somebody leaves, and there's often this comment of, how could you do this to me? How could this happen to me? Like, this is not your freaking story. Sorry. It's the person who's leaving. It's Stella who's stood up and gone, I'm going. It's Michelle who's stood up and said, I'm going. It's not happening to you. Like, get over yourself.
This is where, like, all the relationships, when you're a Jehovah's Witness, all of your relationships are so unhealthy. Even the way parents bring up children to basically be mini me's of them, and if they're not, they're disappointed, and that's not healthy. A parent's job is to ensure their children are ready to be launched into this world and to make their own decisions. And you don't have to agree with them, but you should support them and be there for them. Whereas the Jehovah's Witness narrative around relationships is such an infantilized one where, you know, it's everybody's fault and you're making everyone it's sad because you're so bad. And you know, if you're an adult, you can make your own decisions and your parents don't have to like it. But the thing that Jehovah's Witnesses tunnel under the bottom of like family structures is that there is no baseline of real love. That's not there. So when you do make a decision, you know, it all falls apart and nobody actually loves you. And you leave and you go into the world and you're alone and you feel like no one loves you and you've made everybody unhappy. But I think it's reframing relationships and understanding that as an adult, you're allowed to make your own decisions and move on. And if people are upset with you, that's actually their problem and not yours. But it takes a very long time to get into that healthy mindset.
And you've got to start putting yourself first.
Yeah,
exactly.
I
wrote to my parents last week.
Where'd she go?
And,
Michelle.
She must
Michelle,
have pressed the button.
Back.
No, I'm sure
I was just going to say, like, I wrote to my parents last week and said to them, I love them, like, but I am allowed to make my own decisions. And when they're ready to respect me for that, my door's open, my heart's open. I love them. But I won't be abused for making a decision the same decision they made when they left their religion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and it's like I'm 32 now, but now I actually feel like an adult. It's taken me to get to 32 to feel like an adult because you've always been made to feel that you don't know anything, you can't make decisions. And because I was a solo mum for so long, there's no way I could run a household without a man. And then it's like, I did it. Like, the kids are still alive. And it's just like, no, actually, I can do this. I don't need to be babied anymore or, live my life for other people. And once that happens, you feel so much more like independent and self-confident. And it's quite empowering when you realize that you can do this.
I still feel like a child. I'm not.
I still have my childish moments.
I think we all do, don't we? I know we've got lots of other questions there, Stella. I know that one's coming, and we want to talk about that one. I just wanted to add something else to the conversation about the way relationships are so toxic within the organization, and what Kathy was just sharing about how parents, what their role should be with children, takes me straight back to our very first question on old-fashioned ideas. It's this sense of ownership and possession. We talked about complementarianism, and that a wife is just there to complement her husband, which means it's kind of this old-fashioned notion that the man owns the woman. And it's the same thing with parents and children, that parents own the children. And so parents will do this, but I trained you to be like this. I taught you to do this. You can't deviate from that, because if you do deviate from it, it actually reflects on them, right?
Yeah.
That they've not trained you properly, or the husband hasn't kept control of his wife. And that really is where it all comes from when they start to shun you, is because it reflects on them.
Yeah.
So when they've failed, then they need to excel at the shunning.
Yes.
Like that's their redemption.
Yeah, you're right, Kathy. That is spot on.
Yeah. So my parents, a week before I was disassociated, I wanted to catch up with him. Absolute silence. They had a week, and they still couldn't find that little tiny bit of love in their heart. But that was their redemption. They're going to shun as hard as they can. They're very good at it. They should get a medal. They're very, very good at it. Yeah. But
top tier shunners.
Academy Award.
Yeah.
Let's get into this one.
Okay. Do you consider yourselves as an apostate now?
Hell yeah.
Yep. Just because factually it's true. Factually, you've left a religion. Factually, we're apostates.
Yeah.
We're not the J-Dub
I do too.
boogeyman of it. You know, we're human. We're normal. It's fine. We're not like we Jehovah. We're just like, hey, I don't believe this anymore. Bye.
I want to see that again. What are we not, Michelle?
I will do it. Brains.
So apostate zombies.
The other thing that I guess I'm happy to own the word apostate. You know, you can't take that context that they have away. But the thing that I don't like to subscribe to is that we're so angry and hateful and, you know, things like that. But if we do have a level of anger, it's actually quite justified. And that's the thing, that the JW leadership are so offended if anyone's angry at them. Well, guess what? We have every right to be angry at you. You've taken away our families just for disagreeing with you. So, I mean, I guess that part of the narrative actually does make me quite angry, is that they're offended that we could possibly be angry. So, I mean, being an apostate, I don't care if they call me an apostate. Like, I know what the dictionary says about it. And yes, I am an apostate. I've left my religion. And so are my parents. They're apostates.
We've got to re-own the word, right?
Yeah. I was just going to say that because they've really made that word sound really horrible and scary and almost like a disease that Satan is like. It's almost like Satan is that word, and then as soon as you're an apostate, you've got his demons and you've got him inside of you. And I think for a long time it took me a while to get over the whole apostate word, because I've never known it as the definition that's in the dictionary before until recently. To me, it's always been, holy goodness, like it really is like a boogeyman. Yeah. Yeah, they've really ruined such an innocent word, and that pisses me off. It's like it's not even a bad word.
No, and anger, like going back to that, anger is part of your full spectrum of human emotions. Yeah, like we are not robots like the witnesses want us to be. Like we are allowed to be angry. It was even in that movie Inside Out. Anger's real. It's okay. It's part of you. Just like joy, sadness, envy and the other stuff. I can't remember all the words.
And I mean, anger is hidden in the JW religion, where, you know, when children get home, they get hit by their parents for not sitting still at the meeting, or wives get bumped around by their husbands. So while, you know, the JWs seem to think that they don't have anger, it's manifest in many other ways that are really toxic, that they're not willing to face.
Totally.
You need to address it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for me, I'm not just an apostate. I'm a proud apostate.
Yes. Yeah.
I actually did a t-shirt because I saw one of those cringe pioneer definition t-shirts, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do an apostate one. So I've got one up for sale on my Redbubble account, just to quickly plug myself.
I'm going to have to check that one out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because I totally agree with Stella that you fully embrace the word. I mean, here's the definition: a person who renounces a religious or political belief or principle, right? And that applies to so many different things. I can remember saying to my father that, because he kind of went, oh, "You're sounding like an apostate." Well, what's the meaning of the word?
I am one.
The meaning of the word, yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to stop doing that now.
No.
It's stuck in my head now, Michelle. It's stuck in my head.
That's it. So I remember saying to him, I'm a NRL apostate. I grew up in Sydney and watched the NRL all the time, right? I supported the Rabbitohs, right? Moved to Perth. Okay, I didn't quite embrace AFL then. It took Sasha 7 years to really get to me. But now I love AFL, so I am an NRL apostate. He laughed and thought that was all very funny.
Is this some kind of sport?
Yeah, I was like, is it like rugby?
Oh, sorry, I forgot we've got Kiwis here. Yeah. Yes, it is some sports things.
Always running around with a ball.
Something like that.
Sports ball.
It's just another weapon in their arsenal where they've hijacked the meaning of a simple word. It's the same with love.
And they're what?
Unfortunately.
It's a scare tactic.
It is.
It's another scare tactic,
If you've
isn't it?
left,
Exactly.
if you've changed your mind, I think so. Seth Andrews, just this week, he read out, it's only a 14-minute long on his podcast, The Thinking Atheist, and it's a letter from a well-known atheist in the States. This is not about becoming an atheist. It's about leaving a belief system. This letter that this individual writes, he writes it to people that have had to leave high-control religions. It's actually a really powerful thing to listen to, because he thanks ones like us for having the courage and the intellectual honesty to stand up and say, we're actually wrong about something we believed, and we had enough strength of character to say, I'm actually going to leave that, despite the horrendous cost. Being honest and truthful and having integrity is more important to me than everything else. I am not going to remain in a religion that is wrong and harmful and full of lies, and so I'm going to leave. We actually have more morality, more ethics, more courage, more integrity than any of the witnesses that stay in that religion. Do I consider myself an apostate? Hell yeah. And I embrace it. I love that I'm an apostate, because it tells me that I can change my mind when enough evidence is presented to me, and that's nothing to be ashamed of, ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll get off my soapbox.
And it's so hard for other people to accept that they're even wrong on something. So
right.
Yeah.
And also the word apostate, they're using it against us. It just shows how narcissistic they are. They try to ruin our reputation, and also it shows how fearful they are of us. So
yes, that's interesting.
Yeah,
it highlights the persecution complex as well. Like if we do say something, it's like Satan's trying to get us.
What also amazes me too is in the Bible there's many examples of when Jehovah actually punished his own people. I mean, for the modern day Jehovah's Witnesses, though, that never seems to be something that could possibly happen, that maybe they're being corrected by Jehovah or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if they want to use the Bible narrative, there are many examples of that.
Yep. And if you want to talk about apostasy, one of the best examples of apostasy in the Bible is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Because he was a Jew. And he left being Jewish to form Christianity. So there you go. I did tell my father that one, and it didn't.
You never thought of that,
but it's true. It is true.
Yeah. It is true.
And they were actively encouraging that level of apostasy. When you look at the New Testament, that's what they were wanting conversion from the Jewish faith to Christianity. They were encouraging apostasy.
Mm-hmm.
And the J-Dubs are encouraging that now to anyone else they meet.
That's exactly
apostatize
what I was
from your religion.
Question their beliefs.
That's the thing. They want other people to leave their religion.
Yeah.
So that
But
makes
don't
apostates, doesn't it? So why do they want apostates in the congregation?
Exactly.
You'll make their heads explode. Keep going.
Yeah. That's just an irony with the J-Dub.
Yeah.
So we have another question here. What advice would you all give to those who are just starting to question their J-Dub beliefs?
Research. Go and make an appointment with a therapist, with a psychologist to help you deal with the trauma of all of that research, and get yourself some support, some peer support. And there are plenty of places out there to offer peer support. There's a heap of Facebook groups of former Jehovah's Witnesses that would be more than happy to listen to you. And of course, I'm going to plug Recovering from Religion, because we have peer support groups and a helpline. So it's kind of a multifaceted thing that I would encourage those that are starting to question. You need to keep learning, keep educating yourself, and look after yourself through the process. Realize that this is not easy. This is a tough ride. And you are going to need support from through this whole process, both peer support and professional.
And not to overthink it and freak out. I think it's important to accept that you're having these questions and doubts, and that it's normal and healthy, and that it's not Satan getting into your head. You know, you haven't been possessed by something that you've picked up on your walk. You know, like
a lamp.
From a second-hand shop.
It's just you've just got to just go with it, and don't. I think don't rush into anything. Just like take your time, process everything slowly, and just let yourself. Because once you awaken, it can be quite intense. And it's like, oh my gosh, all these lies. How could I have been so stupid? How did I not see this? So I think you just really need to slowly progress into it, and just accept everything that you're learning if you've got those doubts.
And like reach out. I mean, for me, reach out to me, reach out to probably any of us if you want to talk to one of us personally, because we'd be more than happy to help.
Because we've all gone through it, so we know exactly what the different processes are.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, what I can... go on.
No, you go, Stella. Okay. I was just going to say, don't... It sounds harsh, but don't trust JWs, because they... Once you start questioning and you say it to somebody, it unravels maybe quicker than you want it to. So I think in the first bit of time, it's better to keep it to yourself and to try and process what you're going through. Research, definitely therapy if you can, peer support groups, everything that, everybody said. And also, I think that when I look in hindsight and what I did go and meet with the elders thinking that they would understand what I was going through, and they don't. So I went and met with them. I bawled my eyes out. I told them really personal things, and in the end, basically after my meetings with them, they said, if you make this decision, you're on your own, which shows you that they have zero duty of care. They don't care what happens to you afterwards. And they meant what they said. Basically, since, you know, the announcement, they don't give a shit where I am, what's happened to me. They don't care. So you can bawl your eyes out. You can tell them everything about your life. They are not going to support you in the end. It's hard. When you're in that mindset and you're leaving, it's quite confusing, and you think that you need to go and talk to them. You actually don't. You don't answer to them. But it takes a long time to get to that point where you understand that you don't answer to them. So I make up for that by writing to them regularly now. But
I love it.
It is, it's hard to know who to trust, but research is the way out.
I actually had a friend who was questioning at the same time that I was. And she, like, so we talked about it, like she came and stayed with me for a little bit and we were talking about it and we were just like, oh my goodness, we both think the same things. It's crazy. All of the, you know, the child sex abuse, different dynamics in the congregation, all of these, you know, contradictory teachings. And then she ended up going to her elders and she was like, sorry, I can't talk to you anymore because I've been to the elders and they've told me to do this, 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 and this. So I'll be staying. And I was like, okay. Wow. And like that felt like a huge thing because I thought, okay, well, at least it's going to be one person that I'll know out here. But so she's still very much in and I haven't heard from her. So it's true. Like you can't necessarily trust anyone, any witnesses because, and as well, like if you tell one person, they might tell someone and then they'll be kicking you out before you can make your own choice.
Oh, the elders will be knocking on your door in the morning while you're just getting out of bed.
It's brutal.
For me, the thing that I can say to those who starts to question their beliefs is give yourself a tap on the shoulder because you're starting to have critical thinking inside you. So just keep on cultivating it. Keep on questioning and keep asking questions, but not on certain individuals. Make your own, check your facts, where are they coming from, your sources, and make up your own mind. And it's a good thing that you start questioning. And I know for a fact that J-Dubs hate it when you start questioning their beliefs because it means that you already stopped. You're on the point of stopping believing. So they're very scared when you start questioning. But for me, give yourself a tap on the shoulder. You start questioning beliefs, and also it's a best opportunity also to do more. Take full charge of your life once you start doing questioning. It's the road to freedom. So.
And once you're out, you'll start talking about your life as a witness, and you'll be like, what the heck? When you start speaking out loud, like, what was I doing? What did I believe? This is crazy. And you'll hear it, like, I guess, from a fresh perspective within yourself.
Yeah, and it's crazy because, like, when I was growing up and I was a kid, it was so embarrassing to, like, admit you're a Jehovah's Witness. Like, you didn't want anyone knowing. And now that I've been one and I've left it, it's crazy how now I'm quite proud of, that's what I was, and oh my God, you're not going to believe it. Like, and then I go, blah, 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 and I can't stop telling people almost. Like, it's so crazy. Because then you're just like, far out. Like,
and talking about it really helps. It really helps.
It really does. And like all the Facebook support groups, like if there's someone watching this, if you want to join, like you don't even have to interact. You just sit there, you watch, and it helped me to be like, because at first when I first left, I didn't go to any of this because it was like, oh, apostates. And then you realize they're actually the most nicest people. The pages aren't all about like, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses should burn and die. I mean, that's what you hear at the meetings. It's so much more nicer and relaxed, and you know, you're able to feed off other people's like experiences and go, oh yeah, I can relate to that too. It's really good just for that little bit of assurance, I guess, that you're not the only one out there that's having doubts or wanting to move on.
And that there are as well, there's other religions like Mormons and, you know, Amish people who leave and the experiences are very similar. And that's another thing that you can sort of, I guess for me it reaffirmed that, okay, no, we really aren't the only religion. We aren't the truth, because the teachings are so similar, and the experiences with ex-Mormons and ex-Amish or whoever
you can relate to
very
everything.
similar.
Yeah.
They just have different words for it.
Yeah,
And
the
I'm
methods are
doing
the same.
working with Sherry. I'm volunteering in RFR. That's actually been really great for me, even being in those support groups, hearing other people, and you go, God, we were told we were so special, and we are just really run of the mill. Like, you hear people talking about the truth. They had the truth. You're like, hang on, I was an S. Jones witness. We had the truth. It's amazing because you're in such a bubble as a JW. You don't realise that really it's a tried and true sort of formula used by many, many religions. And I can attest, and I'm sure everybody in this group was scared of this, there is absolutely no bolt of lightning that comes out and hits you when you are researching for the first few times.
Oh, yeah.
You think it's going to happen, but it doesn't happen.
I thought I was going to see a demon come out of my computer. Like, I literally thought there's going to be like this black smoke coming out with orange eyes. I was like, do I press enter?
I was all like, I was so nervous that someone had like bugged my phone or something, or like that they were tracking what I was looking at. That's what I was scared of. And then I was like, that's basically the whole Scooby-Doo thing. It's actually not. It's not the monster. It's the actual men that that are scared.
Well, I had the same experience. Like when I was the first time I logged into YouTube and started looking up for XJW videos, I always look on my shoulder. Somebody is looking at me. Like,
I was like, oh my God, what if I text someone something, or if I accidentally, you know?
I've got a story on that. I have a story on that. Oh my God, it's so bad. So
let me get my popcorn.
It's so bad. I'd only been awake maybe 4 months, and I felt compelled to contact someone whom I'd known many years before, who's actually a New Zealander and who'd left the organisation way back when, and who was one of my instructors for my pioneer school. And I emailed him, and he emailed me back, and he actually sent me a copy of the letter that he gave to Bethel when he left being a witness. And so one Sunday afternoon, I have this 18-page document that I'm about to start reading. I've got a glass of white wine because I figured I'm probably going to need that. And I decided, I get this SMS, from a colleague, a work colleague, whose name was Donna. And she's just telling me that she's arrived at the airport and she's about to have her first glass of bubbly before she leaves. And I decide to take a photo of the letter I'm about to read and my glass of wine and say, this is what I'm doing. Only problem was I didn't send it to the right Donna. My sister's name is Donna. And I sent it to her.
And you're like, throw the phone across the room. It wasn't.
I freaked out. I absolutely freaked out. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I'm trying frantically to work out, and I'm trying to tell myself, no, she's in Launceston in Tasmania, and there's really bad signal, and maybe she won't get it, and so I'm deleting it. I deleted it from my phone, of course, but that is not deleting it from her phone. And
my phone was hacked by Satan.
I'm like, I don't know what to do. I message her and say that message wasn't actually for you, just ignore it? No, don't bring any. I didn't know what to do. Right?
What did you do?
What happened next?
I know, right? I'm like, oh, far out. This point in time, because it's only 4 months that I was woken up, she wasn't really talking to me too much, but I was caring for my father. And my father says to me, so Donna tells me that you sent her some apostate letter, and and so I'm saying, well, actually, it's not apostate because he didn't say anything negative about the religion, and he actually didn't. He just spoke about how he didn't believe in the Bible anymore, and because he didn't believe in the Bible, and he listed all of the inaccuracies and reasons why he felt he could no longer support the Bible, that was the reason why he was leaving. But yes, my sister then put pressure on my father to not have me caring for him because I was an apostate. So yes, please, message to everybody, pay attention to who you're messaging, double, triple check. Don't do what I did.
And I think too, it's important that when you're leaving, like when you do feel you're ready to speak to your family, they're going to tell you that you've been fooled and that what you're learning is complete lies. And the other thing that you'll find is that they're not willing to speak about it. They're not willing to look at any alternate evidence. So that's something that you need to sort of get ready for, is that you're going to be told that you are possessed by Satan, you've been fooled, you're stupid, you're an apostate, you're listening to people who are hateful and who are liars, yet they will not engage with you in any kind of adult conversation about why you're leaving and the information that you found. And that even comes down to things like court documents, the Royal Commission, like Jehovah's Witnesses will not even look at that. I've even had insane things said to me that the Royal Commission was actually a hoax. So you need to be ready for that. You need to know that people are going to just tell you that you're crazy, you're evil, you're talking to evil people and you've been fooled. And that's fine.
Kathy.
Because you're not engaging with people that are willing to have open conversation with you.
Kathy, I'm just I'm just taking that in. Someone actually believes that the Royal Commission was a hoax. Okay.
Yes.
Let's just imagine this.
I know.
Right. We have 68,000 witnesses in Australia. And the Australian government, or Satan, sorry, has gone, I know what we can do. Let's just play a hoax. Let's play a prank on all of the witnesses. What we'll do is we'll make the Australian government call a Royal Commission into sexual abuse, and we'll have all of these organisations investigated and explored. But our real purpose is to play a hoax on this small minority within the country. Yeah. Really?
I know.
They didn't do it on April Fool's Day, did they?
Right.
Well, Jesus are famous for conspiracy theory.
Yeah. And all the propaganda videos with all the, people in their SWAT gear. I think all of these authorities really are unaware of their starring role in the Jehovah's Witness narrative. They really don't know that they are the starring, the room with the video screens, and they're checking out the JWs and what they're doing. It's just in their heads because it feeds into that fear, and it keeps the Jehovah's Witnesses on the treadmill. And so they don't realise that these things that they said are going to happen just didn't happen. So they up the ante. That.
Well, they've got to prove that they're going to be persecuted, don't they? They've got to prove that. So it's just another Satan getting involved to persecute humans.
Even the whole the thing with the Nazis and how Rutherford basically brought Hitler's attention to the Jehovah's Witnesses by writing him a letter. Like they did it to themselves.
They don't know about that.
There's a lot out there, guys.
It's sad that narrative they are upping the ante with it, because there's little children watching that and they're watching those toxic Caleb and Sophia videos, and it's just that new level of indoctrination. And you get a parent that's busy that puts, these Caleb and Sophia videos on repeat for their children, and the damage that's being done to these signs. And that's the reason why I've left, and that's the reason why I do activism, is because these children have no chance of getting out when they've got this sophisticated level of indoctrination happening. And, that's why we need to bring attention to this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Protect the children.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, we have a
silence as we read the question.
I was reading it too.
It's an ongoing process, I think.
Yeah. I'm definitely not the best one to talk to about it yet because it's so fresh for me. But it's just, I guess, building up the self-belief and not that there's something wrong with you, but just to start believing in yourself, which is the absolute opposite of what the witnesses teach. So start there. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and find something that makes you happy. A hobby or an interest. I mean, for me, it was going down a spiritual route, but not based on God. It was other things that just helped me to sort of, find an inner peace in myself. And I think, when you focus on something that you know that you're interested in or makes you happy, then that also helps with your self-confidence. You find a worth in yourself, and you accept who you truly are. I think that's the biggest thing. Doing something that helps you feel like your true, real self. You can't beat that feeling.
And because for so long we've all been told we can't be ourselves, we've had to be like a shell of ourselves. For me now, I'm figuring out who I even am. Like, what do I like to do that's not something that I've been told I'm allowed to like? So
we were told to disown ourselves when we were doing
the new personality.
Well, what I learned, after leaving the JDOS, what I really appreciated was when I learned that I am not a sinner. So that's a real boost for my confidence, my self-worth, that I'm not that low that I need to be saved. I'm just a normal human being. I'm not a sinner. That's really freeing for me, knowing that. And it really helped me a lot to get on with my life. I'm just
That's
human.
incredibly powerful, Stella. That's really, really powerful, because that concept of original sin, and then the way the J-dubs teach it, that this sacrifice that Christ made is undeserved kindness, that no matter what you do, you can never deserve it. It teaches you to have such a low view of yourself, because you're not worth anything. You are the good for nothing slave. What you have done is what you have ought to have done. You're not worthy of any praise. Anything that you do to be kind to yourself is Satan, get behind me. So you have all of that rhetoric running around in your head. But like Michelle said, all of those teachings are false and they're harmful. So one of the things that I mentioned therapy earlier, and it was through therapy that I got some of these tips that really helped me to reverse some of that dogma, reverse some of that rhetoric that was playing around in my head. So two things that I'll just quickly share. My very first session with my psychologist, at the end of it, he said he wanted me to go and research post-traumatic growth. And I had not heard of it before. I'd heard of post-traumatic stress disorder, of course, we all have. But I hadn't heard of post-traumatic growth. And so I Googled that, and I learned that post-traumatic growth is something we can achieve when we have gone through trauma, but we have battled with it, we've come to terms with it, we've learned skills and techniques on how to manage and cope. And what we can end up doing is take all of that negative energy of trauma and harness it in a way that we grow from, so that we don't just go back to being who we were before, in a recovery process, but we actually become even more. So it's kind of like your Tariah Pitts of the world, people who have gone through incredible trauma. I mean, she was burnt to 60, 70, 80% of her body. And now look at her, like she's just had a baby. She does motivational speaking. Like, that's post-traumatic growth. And we can do that too. We can take all of that harm that we had being a witness and turn it into something that compels us and propels us. That's the word I'm after, propel. Yeah. Propels us forward. So I really like that idea. And then the other thing I learned with my psychologist was self-compassion. So we just talked about how we were trained to not think well of ourselves and not to be kind to ourselves, whereas self-compassion is all about treating yourself as if you were your own best friend. So if you can imagine yourself as your best buddy, and they're pouring their heart out to you and telling you how they feel, what would you say to that best friend to bring them comfort? Do that to yourself. There's a fantastic website on this, Dr. Kristen Neff, Neff. She actually developed the theory of self-compassion, and why self-compassion is even better and more important than self-esteem. Self-compassion.org, I think it is from memory. But that is a fantastic website that helps you retrain yourself, or train yourself for the first time, on how you really should be treating yourself with self-compassion. That is a fantastic tip tip to help you rebuild that sense of value, and to, treat yourself with kindness.
Yep.
Forgive
Yeah, I
yourself.
agree with all of that. You've all given great points. And I think also for me, it was changing the narrative. So when they throw you out of this religion, they tell you that you deserve it and you deserve to be shunned. And I think that doing research on the way cults work and understanding that what they're really doing is just preying on a basic human need to belong and to want love. And they're using that against people, and they wrap it up and say it's something good for you. And it's just changing that narrative and calling them out for what they are, which is, it's criminal behaviour and it's cruel, and they hijack families, and they're actually terminal cancer for families. So for me, it's not taking on that I deserve that, but actually understanding what they're doing is a tried and true cult method of trying to make you come crawling back and to have no self-esteem. And reading books, I think, has helped me so much. I've read Kirsten Neff's book. That's really great. And that's something, as particularly Jehovah's Witness women, you have no compassion for yourself. And really, if you can't be kind to yourself, it's hard to be kind to other people. And I think when you're having a bad day, even just sitting with that and saying, I'm having a really shit day, I don't know what to do, should I have left, but sitting with that and not reacting so much to it, but just going, you know what, I'm having a bad day and I'm going to get through it. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and see what it's like tomorrow. I'll go see my therapist. I might log on to Facebook and see if I can chat to someone. It's just sort of taking back that narrative that we deserve what we're getting, because we don't. And we are in a bad place when we leave, because we're not leaving with any skills, because that's the whole point of what they do to you. They want you in the gutter. That's why they do videos of people who've left the Jehovah's Witness religion. They're, it's that typical, you're in the gutter with a needle in your arm. Like, they're idiots. Like, that's not what people do. That's the narrative they want to portray of you. But it's sort of just taking that back and understanding they're just doing what all cults do. They're taking basic human needs away from you. The very same human needs that they'll go to the high court to fight for, they will then take off their own congregants, and they're actually criminals for it. And they destroy families. So just read a lot. There's a lot of self-help free books out there. Some of it's, fluffy, whatever. But even if you can take one thing out of it and just keep building on your self-esteem, I think that's what really helped me.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest comment I would want to leave people with is, you are worth it. You are worth investing in. You are worth treating yourself with kindness. You're worth exploring all of this and investigating it. You deserve a happy life. Invest in it.
Yeah. And you're courageous for taking that step. It's amazing that you've taken that step. So many people will not do that. There are so many JWs in there that don't believe it. And that's a fact. But they don't have the strength to believe.
So many. Or the family circumstances, like they can't leave.
Yeah.
There are people there that are trapped. Yeah.
Girls, you rock. I love you all. You're awesome.
You roll.
What an amazing conversation.
Yeah. So many good questions there. Like, it covered so many, really important subjects. Really good.
I totally agree. Yeah, they were great.
It's coming from deep within.
Yeah.
All the answers. Yeah. It's well.
That was
well
good.
done, you ladies.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for
Thank
questions.
Yeah. So, any parting words for everyone out there? Do you have anything to say?
Big
it's
hugs.
hard, but it gets better. It does get better.
Yeah.
It's hard, but everything in life is hard.
Yeah.
It is, but it's worth it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you're not alone.
No.
You're definitely not alone.
Woman power.
Live,
no, but I think the way
love.
we've got to close it, Michelle, I think the way we have to close it
I thought you were talking about prayer.
Oh, closing prayer. Oh, you need to put a scarf on your head.
Dear no one, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you for my fucking great life.
I am amazing. They are amazing. You are amazing. I don't know. It's late here, I think.
Yeah, New Zealanders, we go a bit crazy after 10 o'clock.
And don't be scared to reach out for support. It is there, and it's actually it's a scary thing to reach out for support because in the beginning your self-esteem is really low, but you deserve that support, and you deserve to be happy, and you deserve to have support around you while you're, decompressing from what you've gone through. It's actually really, really traumatic. And if you can seek therapy, I mean, in Australia, you can get 6 free sessions, and that can be so helpful. And like the support groups like RFR and the Facebook pages, it's scary to do all of these things, but as time goes on, you get more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And you do deserve to be happy, and it is hard work to decompress from it all.
And I think I love the analogy of you are the main character in your life. So you need to pick up on that and run with your main character vibes and live your best life.
Your life
your
has
real
so
life,
many,
your actual life.
your life has so many different chapters, and sometimes I'm thankful for the chapter of being in the organization. I've come to terms with it, and I've become thankful for the things I've learned to, that I can take away with my life, and also things that I'm like, well, no, I'm never going to do that again. So sometimes because you close that chapter, you put that book up on the shelf, and then you can just open up this brand new fresh book and just fill it with whatever you want to, all your passion and and it's no one else's ideas and no one else's painting or story. It is your story that you live for yourself, and you can't beat that feeling when you get it. Yeah,
it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you,
One more.
Yeah, and you can be happier, and you'll be happier once you learn to love yourself and find yourself. So it's all worth it, like all you girls said. You're gonna be happy. Wear that smile and that confidence.
If you want to. You don't have to smile if you don't want to.
You can wear all black. Go goth if you want to. Just let it all out. Be you. Goodness me. Yeah.
And that hashtag best life ever, it doesn't exist. Life is up and down. Life, sometimes things are shit, sometimes they're good, but it's all a learning experience. That's Jehovah's Witnesses are so offended that their life's not the best life ever, 7 days a week. It's just not real.
No.
I've made up another hashtag for us. Real life is better. So that's what I'm going with for apostates. Real life is better.
I like that. That's really cool.
Thanks.
Hashtag real life is better.
It's real life. It's real, and real is like what Kathy said. It's going to be up. It's going to be down, but you can appreciate it because it's real. It's not some fantasy best life that's never going to happen.
Being human, that fake smile 24 hours a day is exhausting. But then when you have a problem and you work through it, or you decide that you're going to go in a different direction, or it's not something you can control, that's when you're actually working things out for yourself. And there's a sense of achievement in just doing that instead of having the narrative written for you and being told that you're a failure when you're not happy, or, you haven't prayed enough, you haven't gone witnessing enough, you haven't done blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's out of your control. And Michelle, you need to make a t-shirt with that hashtag.
I know, that's okay.
The bullet went that way and it hit you.
Stella saving Kiwis going crazy.
Don't worry, I've been exposed. I can relate.
Sorry, guys.
No,
we're all crazy. Yeah.
We're all happy.
All happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So time for us to wrap this up. We would like to thank everyone who are in right now watching and who will be watching later on. Thank you for all your comments and your encouraging words. Really appreciate the questions. Yep. And we will be back soon. Don't know when yet, but yes, we will be back. So
I can't. I was serious for 2 seconds.
Okay, before we lose our minds here, let's say goodbye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching. See you next.
Bye.